Scream 6. I finally watched it. Tony and I also watched it last night. What's going on, everybody? It's 11:02 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday, April the 26th, 2023. One more time! It's too short. It's too short. How's everybody doing? We'll see who rolls on in. Get your fucking lazy asses in here, you damn son of a bitch. Did you like Scream? Did you not like Scream 6? Do you want a Scream 7? Do you not care? Hey, what's happening? What's shaking? What's doing? There is a poll that is up right now. 36 people have voted. Do you want there to be a Scream 7? 72% say yes. 28% say no. We'll see how that poll shapes up throughout the show. So yes, so I have finally seen Scream. Let me turn this up a little bit. That's a little better. I have finally seen Scream 6. Of course, watched it last night with Tony. I was about to say Tony Moran. That's right. Tony Moran and I, we watched it, myself and Tony Moran. Why can't I hit that thing? It's anticlimactic when I can't get the Tony Moran soundbite ready in time. Oh, well. Where is it here? Oh, there we go.
So, do you guys see her tits?
Anyway, there's always room for Tony Moran.
Do you guys see her tits?
No, Tony. No, we didn't. Tony, Michael, and I, last night on episode 188 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, we watched Scream 6. It was our first time watching it live, and then I watched it again this morning, you know, to kind of just brush up on it before the show. And I will say that my feelings haven't changed on it. I still feel the same way about Scream 6 as I did last night. Here's the thing with Scream. So, okay. Scream 6. It's fine. It's fine. I know and I understand that there are a lot of Scream fans out there, a lot of Scream heads out there that absolutely love this franchise. Like, love this franchise in a lot of the ways that a lot of people like the Halloween franchise. I've said it before, I'll say it again, because it's interesting. I find it interesting. Scream gets the most attention on my channel outside of Halloween. Not Freddy, not Jason, not Chucky, Scream. And I found that really interesting. I don't know if it's a generation thing or I don't know. Now, maybe that's also because there's material for Scream. There isn't material for Freddy. There isn't material. Well, there's Dylan's New Nightmare, but I mean, officially, there isn't material for Jason yet, right? We got the Crystal Lake series coming soon. So maybe once that's out and that really starts to pick up steam, maybe then, but I did a whole stream on the Crystal Lake series a couple of weeks ago, and, people tuned in and were like, But Scream, man, people were like, yeah, Scream, yeah, Scream, yeah. And it's like, wow, holy shit. Holy shit. I will say this about the Scream franchise. Like I've said, it is one of the most consistent slasher franchises of all time. Consistent in terms of quality. It hasn't yet had its Halloween Resurrection. It hasn't yet had its Freddy's Dead or Jason Goes to Hell or Halloween 5, right? It hasn't had it yet. That doesn't mean every movie is great. I still think the first one is the best. It's still my favorite. And every other sequel after that is just fine. And I don't say that in a bad way. It's good. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I liked Scream 5. Scream 5, had a lot to prove. It was the first Scream without Wes Craven, so there was a lot to prove there, right? Radio silence proved that they could deliver a Scream movie. It was a little familiar. It was sort of like, The Force Awakens, right? It wasn't bad. It was fine. A lot of people didn't like, it's too, whatever. But it was fine, right? It was a Scream movie. It was good. It was good. Scream 6 definitely was different in the sense that we have a different setting, New York City. Ghostface was definitely more violent and more intense. But at the same time, he was. I mean, he was probably the most, a couple of notches up from 5, I guess. I don't notice a huge contrast, but definitely he was more intense, and the film was bloody, and the stabby was, it's like, wow, we're just watching this, right? They're not cutting away or quick cuts to create the illusion there's intensity. We're actually just staying on this one shot and watching Ghostface go stab, 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 right? We're actually watching the intensity in real time rather than doing quick cuts to make, to create the impression that there's fast, that he's moving fast, right? So yeah, definitely you're seeing it. I liked Ghostface. It was fine. I like the, the old weathered mask and everything from the past and all that. It's good stuff. It was a Scream movie. I know there's a lot of people that just fucking love this movie. I thought it was fine. I thought it was just as fine as Scream 2 or 3 or 4. I know 3's the one that's sort of the, if you had to point to one that's kind of, I know Scream 3 gets that. But if Scream 3 is your worst in the franchise, your franchise is doing pretty well. I'm just saying. If you have Scream 3 at the bottom of your of your ranking, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good franchise. You know what I'm saying? I mean, let's just be honest here. Halloween, Freddy, Friday, Chucky, they'd give anything to have the consistency that Scream has, right? So I thought the movie was fine. I thought it was, a Scream movie. I really liked the alleyway scene, of course. Do you remember when I was talking about Scream 6 leading up to it? I had said that, yes, it's shot in Montreal, obviously, but when you set a film in New York City, I hope they're going to utilize, alleyways and subways and all that kind of stuff. And sure enough, they did. That's probably the best scene in the movie in terms of suspense. It's drawn out, not too much, but there's genuine suspense. There's genuine stakes, obviously being so high. And that girl that falls, man, oh man. I laughed at it hardcore when we were watching the movie last night, but in a good way. Like it was well done. I mean, she hit that dumpster like a bat out of hell, man. Just smash and falls on the ground. No. It was great. It was great. It was a great scene. It's the best scene in the movie. When it comes to, the chase, the stalking, the killing, oh my God, Ghostface is on us. Ah! It's the best scene in the movie. The scene at the abandoned theater towards the end is good too. When you have like, Tara hanging on there and Sam's like, I got you, and all that kind of stuff. It's good stuff. It's good stuff, and Tara, Sam letting go of Tara. See, Tara didn't slip, right? Sam let go of her. It was I think that's what happened anyway. That's a sign of trust, obviously, right? Is that because Sam is very overprotective of her and she's like, no, fucking let me do this. You got to trust me kind of thing happening. And she did. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a little bit of an arc in their relationship there, which is nice. I love that Jenna Ortega, I mean, she elbows Ghostface in the face. She kicks him in the face. She punches Gale in the face. Fucking Wednesday's fucking kicking some ass. So I thought that was fun. I said this to Tony. This is a minor thing, maybe, but I do like this though, because it's about believability, right? I don't know if Jenna Ortega was cast specifically for I think this is just a happy accident when they were writing Scream 7. It works well. When you have Jenna Ortega's like 5 foot nothing. And Melissa, I think it's Melissa, right? Barrera, who's Sam, she looks like she's, I don't know, 5'7", 5'6", whatever. She's bigger. And she's not just taller. She's, I don't mean she's a big woman. I just mean that she's she's a larger frame than Jen Ortega. So the idea that she is I really believe that she's overprotective of her and doesn't believe that she can take care of herself in a variety of different areas, not just physically, but maybe making the correct decisions, like with that guy and all that kind of stuff. Because she's small, petite, she looks small, petite, and vulnerable, right? And so when they're out on the street and they're having that conversation, and she's like, you gotta let me, you can't just do this to me. Like, she's like, the eye line is like this, right? You know what I mean? It's like big sister talking to little sister, you know what I mean? Whereas if they were the same size, talking eye to eye, it still would have worked. But I really like the fact that they're different in terms of their makeup and, the physique and all that kind of stuff. Cause I really totally I probably feel the same way, because they're small and vulnerable and you worry about them, and even though they're like, 20 years old, you know what I mean? So I like that. It's just a little sort of note, that I like. But it was probably a happy accident. Yeah, overall, I liked the energy of the film. I liked the pace of the film. New York's fine. I mean, as somebody who, I haven't been to Montreal in about 20 years. I can definitely, outside of the alleyway and the subway, which is fine. When they're outside, yeah, sure. It works. I can tell it's not New York, but but you have, the establishing shots and, there might've even been some B-roll they shot in New York as well. Which it's fine. It does the trick. It's not like it's in some small town in, Ohio or something. Not that there's anything wrong with small towns in Ohio. I'm just saying, right? You know what I mean? Like it's a big city. It's a big enough city, blah, blah, blah. I think Toronto would have worked better. Of course, you couldn't have shown the CN Tower, which is a dead giveaway. It's Toronto. But I think Toronto probably would have worked better, but it might've been more expensive to shoot in Toronto. They might've got better tax breaks in Montreal. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they chose Montreal. Probably tax breaks. It's always money. But anyway, but that's fine. That's fine. It works because you have the establishing shots. And listen, I liked the movie. I thought it was fine. I don't feel any differently today than I did last night. My question is, but I will say that when it gets to the motive of the killers and the reveal and all that kind of stuff, yeah, I am in the same position where it's kind of like, okay, Richie's family, revenge. Okay. It makes sense, right? It's properly motivated. Like, everything is properly motivated. Even if you roll your eyes, you might be like, oh, so that's the reason. But it's not like it comes out of nowhere like, who's this guy? What? Why? Well, I don't know. I just wanted to. You know what I mean? Outside of the first movie where they just, were taking their love of horror movies too far. Even Billy had a little bit of motive. Every sequel, it makes sense. Like, I understand it. I think the problem with Scream now is that I said this last night, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The structure of the Scream franchise is every movie has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then I always often say, well, of course every movie has a beginning, middle, and an end. But what I mean is that every story is wrapped up. There's never a cliffhanger, right? There's never a cliffhanger like, at the end of Halloween 1, right? 1978, or at the end of, Halloween 4, or A Nightmare on Elm Street, or, any of the classic sort of 80s slasher movies that we know and love, the big three, or even just horror movies in general. Horror movies in general can have, cliffhanger. There's never a cliffhanger at the end of a Scream movie, right? The story is wrapped up. If you didn't know there were any sequels, you could watch Scream 1 as a standalone. You could watch Scream 2 as its own thing, and 3. And you don't need to, I never feel at the end of a Scream movie that there's so many unanswered questions, or wonder what happened to this, that, and the other. And how about that person? This, oh God, I can't wait for the next one, because no, it always feels wrapped up. And it's designed that way because it's a whodunit. And, in whodunits, the whole point is at the end of a movie, you have to find out the traditional sense of a whodunit, right, is you have to find out who did it. The people who did it take 10 minutes telling you why they did it and why they're so evil. And then the good guys eventually are like, "I'm not going to take this." And they beat them up and they kill them and they win. And that's the end of the movie. And every Scream movie is like that. Now, that could be the strength of the franchise. It could be its weakness eventually, because I don't think this is sustainable indefinitely. And what I mean by that is, I think the reason why a lot of people are starting to roll their eyes a little bit with some of the reveals is because where do you go? Oh, now it's Richie's family that's good, and next it'll be the uncle of the former roommate who's, you start kind of heading in that direction because it's run its course. And that's why, at the end of Scream 5, I thought it was a fine legacy sequel, right? And at the end of Scream 5, when you have Sidney, when Sam says, "Am I going to be okay?" And Sidney says, "Eventually." I mean, that right there is the passing of the torch. That is, now that doesn't mean you have to make another movie with her. It's just it's a symbolic sort of thing, right? You didn't have to make another movie after, you literally did not have to make another movie after Scream 5 at all. You didn't have to make another movie after Scream 4 or Scream 3 or Scream 2 or even Scream 1. But that's kind of it, right? And now you have the ending of Scream 6. And there she is looking at the ghost face mask that has so much history, and she's looking at it and she's there. And that's the moment where she's making a choice. Now, there's no dialogue there, right? But it's the Darth Vader moment at the end of Return of the Jedi before George Lucas fucked it up by adding no at the end of Return of the Jedi. Oh yeah. Yeah, he added that in just to make the ending of Revenge of the Sith make more sense. Why don't you take it out of Revenge? Anyway, if you watch the original version of Return of the Jedi, Darth Vader is just looking at Luke, looking at the Emperor, looking at Luke. We know what he's thinking. We don't need to be told through some sort of no. No, he doesn't need to say that. He just looks and looks and looks and looks and goes back and forth. We can see we can see that he's contemplating here. And then he picks up the Emperor and you're like, yeah, he did it. He chose the good. Well, that's what's happening here, right? We don't need her to say "I don't think so, Dad," or "not this time." We don't need her to say anything. It's just the fact that she's looking at the mask. We know. Well, I mean, we don't know, but that's the idea, right? We fill in those blanks ourselves and we get the idea that, oh, this is interesting, right? Is she going to take it? Because is she going to put it in her bag? Is she going to put it in her jacket? Is she going to take it with her? Because imagine how different that ending would be. Imagine how different that ending would be had she not dropped the mask on the ground, but actually took it with her, stared at it, and then, you hear, Tara, "You coming?" or, whatever, right? And she's like, "Oh, yeah." And she takes it with her and the two walk off. But Sam still got it in her hand. Well, that's very different. That communicates something very different to the audience. Now, you still don't have to make another Scream movie after that because you can leave it up to the audience going, "Oh, I wonder." You know what I'm saying, right? But if she takes it with her, that's very different from then just dropping it on the ground. Her dropping it on the ground is the answer. She chose the path to good. She chose, no, not going to do it. You don't have to make another Scream movie. You literally do not have to make another one at all. Everything is wrapped up again. And now, to be fair, I'm also not a diehard Scream head. So, maybe there's little nuances and tiny details that I'm missing, but I've watched all the movies. I watched Scream 6 last night. I watched Scream 6 this morning, and I don't feel like I need a Scream 7. I can understand if you're a fan, you want to go back to these characters again, but from a story perspective, it feels complete. Where else do you go? Bring back Stu. Yes, I know. Outside of bringing back Stu and having, outside of that, is this just going to continue again? It just feels like, listen, we're getting away with it right now. 6 Scream movies, they're all pretty good, but eventually, you're going to hit that one where you go, and there it is. There it is. There's Scream Resurrection. You know what I mean? Maybe they should just call that. Maybe Scream 7 will be Scream Resurrection. Can you imagine? Oh my God. Or Scream 7, The Revenge of Billy. But no, The Revenge of Stu. But that's kind of how I feel, right? Like my overall sort of thoughts was, again, Scream 6 didn't reinvent the wheel for me. It's a Scream movie. It's solid. It's entertaining. Good kills. It does progress the story, obviously. And then the reveal is that, oh, it's Richie's family. Okay, it's Richie's family. And you know, the father set it up, and I was the one that spread those lies online about you, Sam. And okay, like everything is revealed and everything makes sense. And whether you agree with it or not, it is properly motivated. You know, so you go, okay, well, that makes sense. I mean, the motivation is clear because it's his family. Okay, that makes sense. But it's like, you know, like, I mean, it doesn't, that's why I was hoping, and I understand that by doing this, you do go against the grain. You do go against the traditional aspect of what a whodunit is and how a whodunit is structured. But again, if it's done right and it's done well, it could be very effective, and it might be what the Scream franchise needs. And that was, like I said, you know, ended on a cliffhanger, something we've never seen before, right? Where you're getting to that point where you think you're going to get the big reveal, the Scooby-Doo moment, right? The mask comes off, and if it wasn't for you damn kids, you know, and then there's the whole thing. You think you're getting to that moment, but then you don't. And Ghostface actually wins. Now, you have to know where you're going, right? You can't make these decisions arbitrarily. You have to know, you know, don't do a Halloween 5 thing where it's like, oh, I don't know who the man in black is. We'll just let the people. No, I don't know what's fucking happening. Don't do that. I mean, you know, you got to know where you're, you know, you have to know where you're going. But I was pulling for, you know, a situation where, you know, you're getting to that point where you think it's going to be wrapped up, but it isn't. And you're looking at your watch and you're like, how can they do this in the next like 10 minutes? What's going to happen here? And Ghostface wins. And like I said, I don't mean wins by he murders everybody, although that would be interesting. I don't mean that. I mean that he's clearly in control. So Sam and Tara they're broken down, they're weakened. Maybe Chad is actually killed. Maybe Mindy is actually killed. Maybe Sam and Tara are the only two left. And Ghostface is standing there in that, you know, weathered mask and all that. And of course, you have to, again, it has to make sense. Everything has to be properly motivated, as I always like to say. And, you know, it has to make sense. But if that ends on a cliffhanger where we don't know who Ghostface is, and the intention is tune in next time, you know, for the final installment to this story, Scream 7, this new trilogy kind of thing. That's fascinating to me. That's never been done. And I think and again, if it's done well, I think audiences would be like, oh, this is different. You know what I mean? I think, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think some of the reason why people might be on the reveal in Scream 6, is because it's just more of the same. It's like, oh, that's what it is. I think fans now, 6 movies in, are ready for that little bit of something, right? That little bit of, oh shit. That's it? Oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? I think fans are a little ready. I think we're ready for that. 25 years in, I think, and 6 movies in, I think we're ready for a little, you know, going a little bit against tradition, you know, and making it a little fresh and a little exciting, rather than, and it was Richie's family and this is why they did it and that's the end of the movie. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it works. It totally works. It absolutely makes sense. But I don't want to speak for everybody, but I can't help but feel, at least I know for myself, when I saw the reveal and the masks come off, you're like, oh, it's him, her, and it's them. I know for myself, I'm like, okay, sure. But I think the first 75% of that movie is much stronger than the reveal. And I think if the reveal had been Like the reveal isn't a reveal of the killer. The reveal is, hey, we're going in this direction. Boom, cliffhanger. And you don't know who Ghostface is. That's the reveal, right? The reveal of the direction. Oh man, fuck. People would be like, now, of course, you'd always get some people going, oh, but that's not how a Scream movie goes. We were supposed to know who the... I get it. I totally get it. But I don't know, man. I want to see something like that. Like I was really hoping they were going to go in that direction. And then you're like, who the fuck is Ghostface? Oh, because we always know who he or she is by the end of every movie. And every story is always wrapped up nice in a nice little bow. But this time it isn't. And it makes you feel kind of uncomfortable, but in a really good and exciting way, right? What are the possibilities? And now you have something to think about over the next like 2 years while they write, the script for Scream 7. You think of all the channels. Who's Ghostface? It's Stu. It's totally Stu. No, I don't think it's Stu. I think it's her. There's this. No, maybe it's... I mean, Jesus, that's how you do it. You know what I'm saying? So I still feel that. I still feel that pull. I liked Scream 6. I don't know if I liked it any better than Scream 5. I think I might have, because I think it was a nice change of pace. Taking it to New York City, there were more people involved. The kills were a bit more, gritty and intense. So I think from that, I think it felt, Scream 5 felt a little, again, Radio Silence needed to prove that they could do a Scream movie. So like The Force Awakens, they needed to deliver something that felt a little familiar to earn your trust. And once that trust is earned, then they are able to kind of go off and do their little thing. Now, thankfully, they didn't go off and, be completely avant-garde like Rian Johnson did in The Last Jedi. It still felt like a Scream movie. And that's a positive. I enjoyed it. I did. I liked it. I liked it the same way that I like all the Scream movies, which is, they're fine. They're good. Still like the first one the best. But Scream 6 didn't, I'm not like, whoa, it's the best. It's fucking, I'm just like, yeah, it's a Scream movie. It's a good Scream movie. They were able to make it work. I don't think it reinvented the wheel. It didn't make me think that it didn't inject, it injected a little bit of freshness into it because it's New York. But by the end of the movie, I didn't feel like there was this new birth for Scream or anything. I just felt like it's consistent. It's fine. So, that's how I feel about it. As I said, love that alleyway scene. Jenna Ortega, of course, was great in it. Everybody was great. The cast is great. The subway, was really cool. That scene was, was really great. The idea of the I thought Gale was fine. I agree with Tony though, in the sense that I don't think you needed Gale in this movie. I understand why she was there. I do understand that. But I don't think you needed her in the movie. She's in New York, so I guess it would have been weird if she wasn't, in it, I guess. But the mention of Sydney sort of, going into hiding or, whatever, I wouldn't have even mentioned her. I understand why they did. I do, because fans were like, what happened to Sydney? I get that. But I didn't miss her. And that's props to the writing and the casting of this new group of characters, right? They're the new hot up and coming stars, especially Jenna Ortega right now with Wednesday and all that. I didn't miss Sydney, I didn't. And it's no disrespect. I just didn't miss her. And I don't think I would have missed Gale either. I think Gale should have died. I don't think she did, right? So I think she should have died. You took the opportunity to kill Dewey in Scream 5, kill Gale in Scream 6, and then maybe Sydney comes back for 7, and whether she dies or not, I don't know. Maybe she does die sacrificing herself. She has to die in a real sort of, epic, heroic way. And then the torch is officially passed, which I think it was officially passed at the end of Scream 5. But so, but I would have liked to have seen her. I'm glad she didn't die the way that it ended. I think if you're going to kill Gale, it's got to be more epic and more meaningful than that. She's a legacy character. She's a legend within the horror slasher genre. So, you gotta, again, I'm all for legacy characters dying. I am. It's, again, as I've often said, it's not that they die, it's how they die, as long as it's properly motivated and it is for the bigger sort of picture. I think it could be very effective and add a lot of weight. But she didn't. She's still around. And trying to think what else. Yeah, I mean, listen, I enjoyed it. I thought the museum with all the Scream memorabilia and stuff was not the museum, the abandoned theater. It's interesting, but I felt like that's such a big, I wanted to know more. I mean, I know they talked about it, but they gave us some, but I wanted it to be more of a thing almost. Like I wanted to, like, that's a big fucking thing. You just discover that. That's a big fucking thing. And I almost felt like it should be, and maybe if they do a Scream 7, it will be involved more in the story. But, I don't know if I would have even had that. I don't know if I would have, just make it an abandoned theater. I don't even think you need all this memorabilia. Again, I don't. Now, I understand. I get how it was factored into the story, and I get the reasons why it's there. But it just feels like it's, I don't know. And then the Stu TV. I would not have had the TV falling on the head. I would not have had that. It's just, that's too, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little persnickety, but anyway, but I liked it. But I didn't think it reinvented the wheel or anything. I just wish Scream would take more risks in terms of, again, not arbitrary risks, real calculated, exciting risks. Because I think, and maybe I'm wrong because I'm not a screamer, I'm not a scream head, I think the fans are ready for something like that. Again, not arbitrary, not gigantic risks, right? There's different levels of risks, but just something that makes you go, this is interesting. And I don't think the killers being Richie's family is interesting enough to make people go, that was amazing. You know what I mean? But that's me. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Scream 6. Let's jump over to the chat room now and see what all of you are saying. Let me go and get some of these. A bunch of super chats did come in, so let me get these super chats. Let me go back to the beginning. Eddie Chase sends in $10. Thank you, Eddie. Really appreciate that. And says, true, this series has never had a bad film, but aside from part 1 and 2, I've always left watching other ones disappointed and let down. 6 is no different. It's great until it's not. Super chats. Super chat 2 to come. Oh, you're sending another one? Super chats to come. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. I think, again, the first one is my favorite. I think it's the perfect, it's like how I feel about the first season of Stranger Things. Every other season is great. I'm nothing wrong with it, but the first season is the perfect example of what Stranger Things was supposed to be. Kids riding their bikes, Goonies, Spielberg, 80s, all that kind of stuff. The older the kids get and the show evolves, it's still good, but it's not the same kind. Like, they're no longer kids riding their bikes, getting into shenanigans, right? It's a different kind of show. And I'm glad it's ending after season 5, because the last thing we want is, they're going to be having sex, and it's going to be like Beverly Hills 90210. I mean, that's not what Stranger Things was, right? So when it comes to Scream, that first movie, it's the perfect example of what it was supposed to be. Like, oh, I have this idea about these kids that are this and that, and it's kind of meta. And Scream is that perfect encapsulation of that. And then Scream 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 are just, I say this in a really positive way, just sort of knock off, like, and there's nothing, again, there hasn't been a bad movie. It's just fine. It's just fine. It's more of the same kind of thing. I'm not as big on Scream 2 as a lot of people are. I know people just fucking love that movie. I think it's fine. And again, I recognize that I'm very picky when it comes to certain things, and it could just be because I'm picky and people are gonna be like, oh, Dave, you're too picky. I get it. I totally get it. Fishing with Fish Gall sends in $5, says, when Quinn eye on her bed on the phone with her dad, her brother behind her as Ghostface. Who are they playing to besides us, the audience? Oh, That's a good point. That's where I think you have to sort of suspend your disbelief a little bit in that regard. But yes, you are correct. Those are things that yeah, you're right. Who are they? I mean, I guess the guy across, the alleyway, right? But how would they know that he was there? Did they know he was there? Is it for him? Is it for, I get, sometimes I get what you're saying, and there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. This is where we kind of have to suspend our disbelief a little bit. You know what I mean? Like how a butcher knife holds a 185-pound man to a wall. I don't think so. That body would have fallen, and you know what I mean? But it's supernatural, Dave. The knife is supernatural. This is where we got to just sort of, suspend our disbelief a little bit, I think is what we have to do. Let me go actually over to here. So, because I want more of the light on my face. So let me just go over here and finish off the super chats. 1 second here. There we go. Vince Terlo sends in $5. Says the MTV Scream show did the cliffhanger thing with the accomplice getting away and carrying on into season 2, and I think it worked well there. Yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, from a although you could that makes sense from a season perspective, right, or from a television perspective, because you do want to create those cliffhangers and those those answers that have been left, or those questions that have been left unanswered to get people to tune into season 2. And you can structure a horror series like that for sure. And I haven't watched the Scream TV series, so I don't know. But I do think there is, there's something to be said there. I think, I personally, I just think fans are ready for it. Now, again, maybe I'm wrong, but I just think after 6 movies of, oh, it's the guy, oh, it's the father's roommate's cousin, whatever. I just think after 6 movies of this, I think Scream fans are ready for something that's a little different. You know what I'm saying, Eddie? I mean, I don't mean, excuse me, Vince, I don't mean, again, something real different where it's like, oh, come on, like Cult of Thorn. I just mean where it's like, oh, I think it's exciting. So yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Here we go. Here's Eddie. Follows up with another $10, or follows up with $10. Thank you, Eddie. Really appreciate that. Says, hated Gail and Mindy attacks ruined by them not dying. Ruined by them not dying. I get what you're saying. 7 survivors. Yet again, stakes not raised. Chad surviving after being a human piñata was my resurrection moment. Franchise lacks balls. Awful reveals. I hear you, Eddie. I do. I think, it's not, somebody had mentioned in the comments of the show last night that that Dewey had received quite a few blows in previous films and survived. I don't know the franchise well enough to know them off by heart, so I don't know if that's, I assume that's true, but I don't know if it was presented in a way that felt like there's no way he could come back from it, or maybe it was presented in a way where it felt like it's possible. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch the Dewey, false deaths sort of thing. But yeah, I do, look, it's not that people haven't survived worse. People have survived being beaten in the head with a fucking baseball bat, and they're in a coma for 6 months, and they come out, a lot. It is incredible what people have survived. It's not that people haven't survived things like that. It's that everyone survived. Apart from the girl that Mindy was dating, who was a new character anyway, as far as I know. So she's expendable, right? People want, I understand that they're basically trying to maybe have even Randy died in Scream 2, right? He was one of the main cast, you could say, well, Dewey and Gail and Randy and Sydney all survived Scream 1. Yeah, but Randy got axed in Scream 2. So maybe Mindy should have been axed in Scream 7. Or somebody should have died. right? Because then it does raise stakes. And again, it's not that characters die, it's how they die. Now, is it possible, because of the world we live in today, that Mindy didn't die because she's a gay character and because, they were worried about that, even though that has nothing to do with it, but we live in a world today where people don't know their asses from their elbows and they don't understand storytelling and they take everything so literally and they get offended by everything that they would think, oh, you just killed her because she's gay. No, that has literally nothing to do with it. Literally nothing you want it to be that so you can manufacture your outrage and, just be angry all the time. But that literally has nothing to do with it. Is it possible that they wanted to kill Mindy, but they thought, oh, but you know how people are. So they decided against it? Yeah, that's entirely possible. And then you go over to Chad and you say, okay, well, not Mindy, maybe Chad. Yeah, Chad should have died. Chad or Mindy should have died, 100%. And if we're looking at the wounds between these two characters, I would say, yeah, definitely Chad should have been the one to go. The fact that he survived, yeah, no, I agree. It gets too cartoony, at that point. So, like I said, even Randy was axed in Scream 2, and he really was. He's come back in videos and things like that, but he's dead, right? So I hear you, man. I do hear you. Zedgoar Skate 45 sends in $1.99 and says, "You fuck with my family, you die." Or Peanut Butter 2018. I would say you fuck with my family, you die. Peanut butter on the penis, that's just not happening. This is not happening. Eddie Chase sends in $5 and says, loved the GF. Love GF was brutal. Oh, Ghostface was brutal. For some reason, I was interpreting that as girlfriend. Ghostface was brutal. Store, ladder, subway, and Gale home scenes were scary and suspenseful. Yeah, you know what? I didn't talk about the store thing. Yeah, the store thing was good. The store thing. The store scene, the 7-Eleven type of convenience store. Ow, just hit my fucking finger. Was good. Yeah, that was a good scene. I enjoyed that too. Yeah. Ghostface was, he was definitely, and I think that's what people love about this movie is that fans are ready for that, right? Fans are ready for a more visceral, intense Scream movie. Not over the top, not leaps and bounds more intense where you're like, holy fuck, this is like, what the hell is this? But just, making it a little more mature, still keeping the meta self-aware kind of thing there, but bringing more intensity into it, right? I think fans are ready for that, which is why, I think fans are ready for that kind of cliffhanger uncertainty ending. I think they are. This Scooby-Doo reveal every film. I think fans want more now. I think fans have matured. I think horror has matured. I think the series has matured. And I think they're ready for that. That's my opinion anyway. And scary, suspenseful. I like the copycat killer who wanted to kill Sam. Nice take. Yeah, I thought that. I agree with Tony though too. Is that I think you could have maybe prolonged that a bit further, and maybe sort of, and then you have like a Ghostface kill a Ghostface. Have we ever seen that? Have we ever seen a Ghostface in a Ghostface costume kill another Ghostface in the Ghostface costume? Have we ever seen that? Ooh, that's fascinating. How would you see that? That would have been interesting, right? Because you have like the Ghostface that kills Samara Weaving, Jason, at the beginning of the movie, and then another Ghostface kind of shows up in the alleyway or something, and you think, oh, there are the two Ghostfaces, okay. And then they walk over to each other, and one just kind of relentlessly kills the other. I'd be like, oh, fascinating. That's interesting. Yeah, that would have been cool. But I hear you though, man. I hear you. Vince follows up with another $5 and says, do you think Ghostface not being one person like Michael or Jason helps keep the franchise fresh and consistent, or is it something else? I think that definitely does play a factor. Yes, for sure. Ghostface is not a person. He's a symbol, right? And so because anybody could be Ghostface. Well, maybe not Jenna Ortega. She's very tiny. You could not get away with that. Little Ghostface coming along. Hey, there's little Ghostface. But anybody can be Ghostface, right? You know what I mean, right? So I definitely think that helps. Yes, I definitely think that helps. There's other factors, just the fact of the structure of a whodunit, and every movie there's always a mystery of who did it, right? So yeah, the fact that you're always trying to figure out who did it is fresh in and of itself. That's the freshest thing about every Scream movie, is its different killers. But I think the fact that it's getting a little sort of kind of, I don't want to say boring, but a little kind of uneventful now, that it's always somebody who's got some sort of vendetta, which makes sense. But I think, which you could still have, but I don't know. I just think Scream fans are ready for just to change it up a little bit. Not completely remove the DNA, but to change it up a little bit. But yeah, no, I definitely think that helps. Absolutely. Zedgo follows up and says, with $1.99, thank you very much, and says, or Zego, say it's Zed here in Canada. Need more Bruce Dale on the channel. Really good guy. Yes, could not agree with you more. Bruce is going to be on the channel very soon, as a matter of fact, as soon as possibly this Monday, because of course the Indiegogo campaign for It's Me Billy Chapter 2 launches on Monday. So, yes. And then Josh McKenna sends in a very generous super chat of $19.99. Thank you, Josh. Says, I recently graduated with a degree in acting. Well, congratulations, man. That's awesome. I moved across the country and I'm currently working on a project. I found out me and another actress had the same acting professor. Very cool. It's a small world. It's a happy coincidence. Yes. Yes. Oh, it is. It's, I've often said that, the entertainment industry is a big industry, but it's a big industry, but it's, hang on a sec here. Let me scroll back. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, wait. Oh, that's weird. How did that, hang on a sec here. Let me just, hang on a sec. Order seems to be a little... Oh, yeah, Reese. Oh, no. Oh, right. I did. Yeah, I was going backwards. I was reading I see what I was doing there. I'll get to those. Okay, I'll get to those. Let me finish up Josh's and then I'll get to those. I'm going backwards as opposed to going from the top down. That's why I never usually do that. That's weird. But yeah, no, look, I think that's really cool, Josh, and thank you again for that very generous super chat. Yeah, the entertainment industry is a very big industry, but it can be very small too. I've run into a lot of people that's, yeah. You know what I mean? That's really cool, man. And congratulations on the acting degree, and I wish you the best of luck with it. Josh McKenna follows up, or I guess that was the follow-up, but I'm going back and then I'll go to the top and go down again. $4.99 says, controversial opinion, but Scream is the worst slasher ever. The characters and the plot suck. I'm, of course, talking about the 1981 Scream. Yeah, last night on the show with Tony, I had mentioned that there is a B, maybe even D-rated slasher movie from the early 1980s, 1981, called Scream. Yes, Scream 96 was not the first horror movie called Scream, not the first slasher movie called Scream. So I highly recommend you YouTube the trailer to that movie. That might be worth a watch on an episode of Two Dudes or something. And then Vince says, sends in $5. Thank you, Vince, and says, as a Scream fan, I really enjoyed the movie. Good use of New York City. Montreal. I know what you mean. Ending didn't quite stick the landing, but not bad enough to ruin the whole movie. 8 out of 10. Fair enough. And then Zedgo says, Dave, big man, how are you? Great stream last night. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. I thought it was a good stream too. I did. And then, okay. And then I got the Eddie Chase $10. Right. And then Fishing with Fish Skull. I got that one as well. Yeah, that was weird how it was structured the other way. It's very strange. Okay, now I got those. Let me just Now go back to the top here. Yes, skipped a super chat. They were all appropriate. Yeah, no, I know. And I appreciate that, man. You're a great contributor. And I don't mind, like, again, I don't mind, I mean, I'm not a prude, but I like to, if I'm getting a bunch of stuff that's like that, it derails the momentum of a show. And I'm sure you understand that. I'm sure you understand that. Yes, it's because I was going back to front for some weird reason, but I got them. Cody the Zombie sends in $4.99 and says, I thought the movie was really good and brutal, but the ending was dumb. Absolutely dumb. No way those teens done some of those brutal, powerful kills. Yeah, listen, I mean, Scream has had a history of the believability in terms of the killer reveal and, was that really the person that actually killed that person? I understand that. I get that. I mean, certainly this isn't the first time where that's been a question. And thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. For me, the reveal was just more of the same. And I get, like, from a writing perspective, from a certain perspective, what else do you do, right? But it just felt like more of the same. More of that, it's the brother's cousin's uncle. It's the family, which makes sense, right? It's properly motivated. I just think Scream audiences today, I think we're ready for more. I think we're ready for a little more maturity, maybe something that's not connected. Do you know what I'm saying? I think we're ready for a little more. I think we're ready for, I at least I know I'm ready for a cliffhanger. But I do only speak for myself. Reese Wilson sends in $14.99 Australian bucks. Thank you so much, Reese. Really appreciate that. Says Scream 6, where stab wounds and mere cat scratches, apparently as ridiculous as Halloween Kills, was at least Laurie's stab wound was treated with a genuine sense of realism. That is true. That is true. You got to give credit where credit is due. And in Halloween Kills, she was in the operating room. She was in life and death surgery at that point. I did actually like that because, yeah, totally. I agree with that. Yeah, you don't want to get too cartoony. And certainly the blows and the stabs that Chad took, it's difficult to buy into it. I know people have survived that kind of stuff before. And I don't think we would, had Chad survived, I don't think we would have cared about Mindy. Do you know what I mean? Or had Chad died, I don't think we would be like, oh, Mindy, what? Because at least somebody died. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody's died yet. Sam is still alive. Tara's still alive. Mindy's still alive. Chad is still alive. And I get they're your core four. They're your new Sydney, Dewey, Gail, and Randy. I get that. But like I said, even Randy died in Scream 2. So I think Chad should have died. Yep. And I don't know why they didn't kill him. There's a number of reasons why they may not have killed him. Eddie Chase, $5, says, even though not great, I could appreciate Halloween Kills having Myers win. Take note, Scream producers, series has turned into Scooby-Doo episodes with murder. It has, I will say that. I mean, it was always that, but you really notice it more when you have 6 of them as opposed to, 1. You know what I mean? So it has. Myers won, but the movie wasn't very good, in my opinion. The pacing, the structure, the story, the act. So even though Myers won, I didn't feel that, oh yeah, kind of thing at the end of Halloween Kills. It still, for me, kind of ended on a whimper because the whole movie was kind of weird. But that's my opinion, of course. That's my opinion. If you loved Halloween Kills and it worked for you, that's great. But I get the principle of what you're saying. Yeah, I do. And I agree with that. All right, let me see here. Have I got all the super chats so far? I think I have. Let me go back and see here. Yeah, Z Gates. Yeah. I got that. That was the last one I think that came in. Let's check our poll here right now. 146 of you have voted. Do you want there to be a Scream 7? Listen, out of 147 people, because one person just added their vote, 76% of you say yes. 24% of you say no. Maybe the question should be, maybe the next one I do should be, are you okay if there isn't one? Because like I said last night on the episode of Two Dudes, like I'm saying here on episode 210 of McRae Live, I don't think there needs to be one. I mean, there never needs to be one. But the Scream movies always end with the stories always wrapped up, like I've been saying, right? So I think it's actually her making that choice. Sam holding the mask in her hand and making the choice to walk away by dropping. She has to drop it. Because like I said earlier on in the show, if she didn't drop the mask and she just walked away with the mask in her hand, whoa, that changes everything. Now, you still don't have to make another movie, but that changes the symbolism and sort of what the filmmakers are communicating to the audience at that moment. Oh, wheels start turning. Does she? Doesn't she? Will she? Won't she? I mean, that's different if she carries that with her. That communicates something very different to the audience. But the fact that she looked at it and she dropped it on the ground and walked away tells us she chose the right path. She chose the right path. You do not need to make another one. Ever. Complete story done. She chose good because she had the choice. In that moment, she had the choice and she chose to walk away. It's great. That's great. That's great. So now that's different. That's a different question than, do you want another Scream 7? Listen, there could be Scream 18, and I could say, do you want Scream 19? And Scream fans would be like, yeah, Scream 19, yeah. It's just the way it is. But you definitely don't need one. You definitely don't need one, for sure. Okay, I don't think I missed any super chats. No. Okay. Gary Rangel. Gary Rangel says, hey, Dave, do you give kudos to the franchise for not having a huge stinker installment like Seed of Chucky, Jason Takes Manhattan? Scream is the most consistent franchise. Gary, yeah, man, I do. We were talking about that at the top of the show today. I've mentioned it a couple times on the show here today. I mentioned it a number of times on other streams. Yes, Scream, despite the fact that I'm sort of getting a little bored of the endings to these movies. They're solid movies. They have not had a Resurrection or a Halloween 5 yet. And that's a good thing. That doesn't mean it ain't coming. But they've yet to have that. So yeah, no, absolutely. You have to give credit where credit is due. And every Scream movie, I mean, some are better than the others, but every Scream movie is a solid entry. There isn't like an absolute stinker of a movie yet. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, you have to give credit where credit is due for sure. Flinner says, Dave, did you see the Leafs come back the other night? Oh, yes, I did. And are you watching Game 5 tonight? I believe Game 5 isn't until tomorrow. I think there were 2 days off, right? Because the game was Monday and then Tuesday. I think the game is tomorrow. They haven't won a playoff series since I was 6 years old. Oh, wow. Okay. They haven't won a playoff series since I was, what was the last time they won? 2003. I was like 24 or 25 or whatever. Yes, I did watch it. My favorite hockey team is the Buffalo Sabres, of course. It's been my favorite hockey team since I was like, 5 years old, since for you hockey fans, which most of you are probably not, since Tom Barrasso was on the Sabres back in the 80s. I'm a huge Buffalo Sabres fan. They are my team, even though they've never won the Stanley Cup. They've missed the playoffs the last 10 years. They are my favorite, and they're getting better. They're getting better. I think they're going to make the playoffs next year. They are my favorite team. However, I'm from Toronto, was born in Toronto. I live here in Toronto. I'm rooting for the hometown Toronto Maple Leafs. I like the Leafs. I mean, there's a lot of people that hate the Leafs. I like the Leafs. They're sort of the Yankees of the NHL, meaning that there's a lot of people that, they have a diehard fan base and they're mostly hated everywhere else around the country. So the Leafs have a diehard fan base and they have diehard fans throughout the country as well. That's one thing about the Leafs. Like the Leafs can play in Seattle and when they score, it sounds like, like they're at home ice or something. Like it's incredible. The amount of Leaf fans that are around the world, really, it's insane. So since the Sabres are not in the playoffs, I am cheering for the Toronto Maple Leafs, of course. And yes, I did watch that game the other night. They were down 4-1 with 10 minutes left in the game, and they came back and won 5-4 in overtime. to take a commanding 3-1 series lead. Now they just got to win one more, and they've advanced for the first time in like almost 20 years. But that closeout game, that fourth game is always the toughest to win. Always the toughest to win. So I'm not getting my hopes up. Not yet. I will sleep well when I hear, they've won the series 4-1 or, whatever it is. Brandon Johnson says Scream 6 was so dumb, and the way they utilized the 6 in the title looks so corny. Why not that for 5 when you had the 5 there in the M to redden? I don't know, man. I agree with you. I think calling Scream 2022 Scream is just ridiculous. Just call it Scream 5. Because people just call it Scream 5 anyway. Because that's what it is. I don't mind the how they did the 6. I just think the poster is weird. I think and I say this with all due respect to the company or the individual who designed the official Scream 6 poster. It just, it's grown on me a little bit, but it feels, when I first saw it, it felt cheap. There's just something about it. I think it's all the white, and it just feels, I don't know. Some of the alternate posters that Creepy Duck Design has done is fantastic. Like, they're way better. Some of the other fan-made shit I've seen is way better. There's something about the Scream. Listen, we are in an age now where we are in an age now where most movie posters are either floating heads or floating torsos. And I wish we could get back to like 80s style, artwork for movie posters. I wish we could. But having said that, I understand that when they do a Scream 7, it'll likely be a floating torso. I get it. I'm not expecting. But I think the Scream 5 poster is just better. It too is a floating head, but it's just it looks more professional, looks solid, it's just better. The Scream 6 poster just looks, I don't know, weird, just cheap to me. And I say that with all due respect. I just think it needed some finessing. It just doesn't work for me. But the 6 didn't bother me though. It didn't really bother me. Just want to make sure I'm not missing any super chats, right? I haven't missed any super chats, right? I think people would say if I have or not. And I don't think I have. Okay, good. Let's see here. Let me go back. Happy Sanjo says, anybody else planning on going to H4 or 5? I don't live far away, so I'm definitely going. Yeah, the tickets go on sale for Halloween 45 Friday. Maybe I'll do a stream that day. I'm not sure. But yeah, the tickets go on sale on Friday for Halloween 45, the big convention in Pasadena the end of September, beginning of October. I know lots of people are going to go. I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it because obviously, depending on what happens with the It's Me Billy Chapter 2 campaign and everything, which, like I said, by the way, this Monday, you might want to get in on this. I'm just saying. This Monday, May the 1st, 2023, we're going to need all the help we can get. We're going to need everybody on deck. This is a big one. So we're going to need everybody on deck. I can't say yet why, but it's, we're going to need all hands on deck. Campaign launches Monday. So yeah, stay glued to my socials between now and then. Let me see here. Evil Monsterism says, why can't H45 be Halloween 45 the movie? Do we need it though, dude? Do we need another Halloween movie this year? Yes! Halloween! 40 days to Halloween! Hey, Google, how many days until Halloween?
Halloween in Mississauga is in 188 days.
Yeah, but not Mississauga. Why did it say Mississauga? I'm in Toronto. Anyway, So what it is. 188, what does it say? 181 days? 181 days? 181 days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 181 days till Halloween. Silver Shamrock, Silver Shamrock, Silver Shamrock, Silver Shamrock. 100 days till Halloween. People are obsessed with Halloween. People love Halloween. People love Halloween. They want it. They want it. They want, yes, another movie right now, man. For anybody who's getting offended right now, I'm just busting your balls. I'm a Halloween fan too. Just having fun. No, I'm glad there isn't a movie. I'm glad there isn't a movie this year. I'm really glad there isn't because I think we need a break. We need a break from Halloween. Let us miss Halloween. Let's let it marinate a little bit. We can talk about Halloween on the channel. We can do that. We're going to be talking about it. But I think it's time to kind of just, let there be a bit of a break. Let there be a bit of a break in there. Tabitha Short. Hey, Tabitha, one of my great moderators says, Dave, what is your favorite line and kill from the Scream franchise? Oh, I don't know, Tabitha. I don't know the franchise well enough, I don't think. I don't know the franchise well enough. I mean, I off the top of my head, I'll say Billy's death in the original Scream when he just kind of, you think he's dead, but he sits up and he gets shot in the head. That's great. That's a great moment. And line, I don't know, Tabitha. Like, and honest to goodness, I've probably seen the first Scream, I don't know, maybe in my whole life, I've seen the first Scream maybe half a dozen times. And then the sequels maybe like 2 times each or 3 times each. I know that might shock some people, but it's not a franchise that I watch on the regular. Not because I don't like it, but just because I'm not emotionally attached to it like you are some other stuff, right? It's like how sometimes, like I could say, how many times have you guys seen A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 or something, right? And you might go, oh, I don't know, twice or something. And then there's Elm Street fans that have seen it like 150,000 times, right? That's the same thing with me when it comes to Scream, right? I've seen them all. I like them. They're fine. But I'm not watching them like, every year or every Halloween or anything like that. So I don't really know. I'd have to go through it and see. I'm not really sure. I'd have to do a best and worst of the Scream franchise with Frank and Darren, which would then prompt me to watch every one of the Scream movies. And then it would be fresh on my mind. And then I would have like a best line, worst line, best kill kind of thing. Scared Straight Production says, Dave, did you see the new Flash trailer? Getting some feelings this will be Keaton's end. I hope it is. I don't think it's the beginning of something new with Keaton, like a new Batman movie with Keaton. I don't think so. I did see the new trailer for the Flash movie, and I think it looks like a lot of fun. And I'm hearing really great reviews coming out of CinemaCon, which is in Vegas right now. It's always in Vegas, but I mean, it's happening this week. I've heard some great things. And as you know, I mean, I'm not a big superhero guy, so I'm not, again, that's a thing. I'm not emotionally attached to all that, like some of you might be, but, The Flash looks like a lot of fun. So I would love to see it. I think it looks like a lot of fun. I hope it's everything that, all you fans want. All you fans want. Tabitha says her favorite is, you hit me with the phone, Dick. Love Stew. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I remember that now from the first movie. Yeah. I mean, if I thought about it hard and long enough, it would probably be something hard and long enough. Speaking of Dick, if I thought, I walked into that one because I know somebody's going to be like, hard and long enough. Because that's the nature of some of our stuff here in the chat. I would say that if I thought about it long enough, I would say that it would probably be a line from the first movie because that's the movie I've seen the most. That's what I'm able to recall the most. So maybe something from Randy talking about something or whatever. I'm not sure. talking about, one of the movies or something. Brandon Johnson says they should do a Scream 7 just so we can finally see Christina. I think it's so dumb that they retcon her character to the history and had her be with Billy Loomis. We don't meet her. Yeah, there's lots of stuff, right? That, coulda, woulda, shoulda kind of stuff. I don't know. I think it's more along the lines of, I just think I don't think we need another one. And I know it's like, but I don't think that's Dave. I'm not saying that in the way that I usually say that, where it's like, please don't do another one. No, the story feels complete. Like, it really does feel over. Do you know what I'm saying? It really does. Sam made the right choice. She dropped that mask on the ground and she walked away. She chose the path to good. As much as you guys, all hate the rise of Skywalker, I don't. It's not great, but it's as good as it probably could have been because of, The Last Jedi. I do love that Rey was a Palpatine. I do. And as much as she's, who are you? Rey. Rey what? Rey Skywalker. I get it feels a little I get the inauthenticity of the moment, and it feels shoehorned in. And then there's the other side. People are like, how dare she take that name? Luke is I get all the Star Wars fandom and what they're all upset about. But the principle of that is the same, right? She chose, even though she is a Palpatine, she chose the path to good. The principle. She's just talking about, the principle. So it's the same thing with Sam, right? She's a Loomis. And she chose the path to good. She dropped the mask, walked away. If you never make another Scream movie, that's a great place to end it. A great place to end it. Because it actually is full circle, right? Because here you have the beginning of the Scream franchise begins with a character by the name of Billy Loomis who's murdering people, right? And the Scream franchise ends with his daughter putting a stop to it and not continuing that forward, right? You can always have somebody come out of the woodwork and be Ghostface and justify why, there's a Ghostface, right? But I think it's, personally, I think it's done well. And I just don't think you need it. I don't think you need it. All right, 15 minutes left in the show, folks. 15 minutes left in the show. Let's check our poll out here and see what's going on with our poll. 172 voted. Do you want there to be a Scream 7? 77% of you say yes. 23% of you say no. Overwhelming people want a Scream 7. It's fascinating. Reese says, Rey being a Palpatine gave me palpitations. Nah, I liked it, Reese. I liked it. Now, do I feel that everything was shoehorned in? Yes. But the idea, I get the symbolism of that, which is what I really like. I really like that. Listen, I'll be honest with you. This is my opinion. I much prefer that Rey be a Palpatine than a Skywalker or a Kenobi. I'm just saying. Would I like her to be a nobody over a Palpatine? Yeah, I might choose nobody over Palpatine, maybe. But in terms of lineage, there's way more stakes. It means much more that she's comes from an evil bloodline than it does Skywalker, which I guess you could say is kind of also evil, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying, right? Or a Kenobi, right? Because she's got, the English accent. Nope. I liked it, damn it. Take me to the internet. The internets. Chester Franklin Jr. Oh, he's talking to evil monsterism. I agree with that H6 and H2 needs to be on AMC Fear Fest more, but H2O and Resurrection. Yeah, I don't watch them. I don't watch them. Reese says, I just thought even bringing back Palpatine sort of took away from the ending Return of the Jedi. No, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. Look, it was a shit show. The Force Awakens was a good start, and like I've often said, despite how you feel about the sequel, the Star Wars sequel trilogy, when The Force Awakens came out, wasn't that long ago, folks. We all remember it. Were there people that hated it and thought it was just a rehash and it was dog shit? Sure. But the general consensus, even hardcore Star Wars fans, who thought that maybe it was a little too familiar. Maybe it was, you know what I mean? They were all like, okay. You know what I mean? They're like, okay. Everybody was excited about The Last Jedi. Everybody was excited about The Last Jedi because The Force Awakens, generally speaking, did what it was supposed to do. Delivered a familiar return to Star Wars. It was fine. Okay, maybe a little too familiar, but it was a good, entertaining return. Okay, it's fine. Very few people were excited about The Rise of Skywalker. I was, because of J.J. Abrams, because I knew he wasn't going to deliver the Rise of Skywalker that we should have got, but I knew he was going to deliver a more entertaining Star Wars movie than The Last Jedi, which is why I was excited for it. I mean, excited might be a little too strong of a word, but I was, relieved. But yeah, they fucked it up. They fucked it up. JJ should have done all 3 movies. They should have just signed him to 3 movies. They should have just signed him to 3 movies because there would have been consistency. I don't think Palpatine would have returned at all. I think JJ would have kept it with Snoke. And I think Snoke would have been your villain. Who Snoke ends up being, I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe he ends up being Darth Plagueis, or maybe he's just somebody completely different. I don't know. But I think there would have been consistency. And then would Rey have ended up being a Palpatine? I don't know. I have no idea. And by the way, you don't need Palpatine to come back for Rey to be a Palpatine. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe she would have been related to Snoke somehow. I don't know. But I'm not saying that it would have satisfied everybody, but I think it would have been a better trilogy had JJ done all 3. It would have been more consistent. It would have been more linear. It would have made more sense. You know what I'm saying? Because right now, if I'm going to watch the sequel trilogy, I watch The Force Awakens and I leapfrog over The Last Jedi and just watch The Rise of Skywalker. The Last Jedi is it's boring. It's bad. It's dog shit. Sucking on those alien titties. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't sucking on. Shit, Dave McRae says. No, he wasn't. He was milking them. He was milking them, which in and of itself is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, I agree. Brandon, I agree. Yeah, it's not, I agree. I agree. I understand what Ryan was doing. He just should not have been allowed to do it. JJ had notes. This is true. JJ had notes for Ryan. He says, this is what I've set up. This is the direction I think we should go. And Ryan just threw it all out and did his own thing. You can't do that. You can't. Basically, I've said it before. I'll say it again. The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are 2 first acts. The Last Jedi is not the second act of The Force Awakens' first act. It's just not. Structurally, pace, tonally, it feels nothing. It's not. It's its own fucking thing. You cannot do that when you're building a 3-act structure. You know what I mean? That should not have happened. If Rian Johnson wanted to make that kind of a movie, he should have been the first person in. The Force Awakens should have been a Rian Johnson movie. And then you set it up that way. And then maybe JJ comes in and, whatever. I don't know. Or somebody else. But yeah, you can't just, it was just too avant-garde. It was too avant-garde. Yeah, you're right, Nate. You're right. Nate 7426. You are correct, but they should have done it. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. He was, yeah, that is the reason, but they should have, should have done it anyway. Chester Franklin Jr. says Halloween 3 needs to be on Fear Fest more also. The Neighborhood says, Dave, thoughts on Knives Out and Glass Onion on the topic of Rian Johnson? Listen, Rian Johnson is a talented filmmaker. He's a talented dude. Just keep the fuck away from Star Wars. Or give him his own trilogy like they were going to and let him start something fresh. That I'd like to see. I've seen Knives Out. I haven't seen Glass Onion yet. It's on Netflix. Have to watch it. Haven't seen it, but I really like Knives Out. Actually, I saw Knives Out in the theater and really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. Really good movie. So yeah, I'm sure I'll like Glass Onion as well. 10 minutes to go, folks. 10 minutes to go. Swifty says, Dave, random off-topic question, but what if our dreams and visions of ourselves in another dimension, our dreams are visions of ourselves in another dimension reality? Ooh. You know, it's funny you bring that up, Swifty, because I thought about that. Like variations of that. Yeah, it's true. You know, dreams are fascinating, right? Like what if they are visions of ourselves in another alternate reality? It's the other reality tapping in, you know what I mean? And what if those other versions of ourselves, I thought about this too. What if those other versions of ourselves that we're dreaming about dream about this? Like what if there's like another version of me in another reality that has a dream that he wakes up and he's like, I had a dream I was like hosting some podcast or something. Oh, that's like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything we do here, like I had a dream, like I was making a movie called like Billy Chapter 2 or something. Whoa, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of, that would make a good premise for a movie. That'd be a very interesting sort of movie. And you know, or what if they're like, you know, it's past lives, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's definitely lots of stuff to explore with that kind of a thing, which I find particularly fascinating. Sebastian says, Dave, what are your thoughts on Lizzo and Jack Black being in Mandalorian? I don't know. I don't have any thoughts. I checked out of The Mandalorian after... Actually, I only watched, I think, the first 2 or 3 episodes of season 2. And then I kind of just checked out. I just lost interest. So I really don't have a thought. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, what are your thoughts on Jenna Ortega's performance in Scream 6, going to watch it after the stream online? I thought she was great. She's great. She's very talented. And I thought she was just as good in this one as she was in 5. Well, actually, she was probably better in this one because she had more to do. She's great. Yep. I thought she was fine. Let me see here. Tyler Singleton says, Dave, thoughts on Skinamarink? Wasn't for me. I appreciate what the filmmaker was trying to do. You know, and look, I mean, you know, there are people out there that like to write think pieces on it and, you know, oh, but it's, you know, and it definitely is avant-garde. But you know, it's this experimental avant-garde. Oh, no, but you don't understand. It's, you know, and no, I understood it. I got it. I understood what the filmmaker was doing. For me, because of its length, it felt just too self-indulgent and too much. I think it would have worked better as a short film, maybe like a 10-minute piece or a 20-minute piece or something. But at like 90 minutes or whatever it is, I understood what they were doing and I got it. It just didn't work for me. That's all. It just didn't work for me. But it goes to show you that you can create something, and if it gets a lot of buzz online and gets a lot of social media, you know, attention, you can make quite a bit of money and get it released, because it was released into theaters. You know, but it's the kind of movie that people are going to love because they like to look at it from a certain perspective and be all analytical about it, and you know, the symbolism of this and what it means, and oh, but this and this and this, and that's fine. And I don't think there's really too much of that there. You know, reading a few interviews with the filmmaker and talking about what his intentions are, I think it's clear, and I think it is there, and it's fine. It was experimental, but just wasn't for me. Just didn't hit me. I certainly don't think we need a sequel. Let's just put it that way. I hope for God's sakes we don't get a Skinamarink sequel. That's me. That is me. Harry Hagen says they did a movie, something like that, titled Another Earth. Yes, Harry, my man. Harry, my man, Another Earth. I love that movie. Yeah, that's with that girl that starred in that Netflix series called The OA, which I quite liked season 1. Yeah, not really a fan of season 2, and then it just ended. Another Earth is a great movie. Yes, you are correct. Man, really like that movie a lot, Another Earth. Yes, yes. Thank you for bringing that up, Harry. That is, yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. Sebastian says, Dave, did you check out of Star Wars completely? Are you excited for the new upcoming projects? I'm new to Star Wars, by the way. I just saw the prequels and sequels for the first time, but not the new one. You got to see the original trilogy, my man. Kind of, I think for me, Sebastian, I think it's just, for me, and I only speak for myself, it's too saturated. There's just too much. You know, I'm a very linear storyteller, and I think I'm a very linear watcher. It doesn't mean I can't bounce around, when the time's right, but there's just too many shows, too many movies, too many timelines. It's just too much. Maybe if you're younger and you grew up through this, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where, it's built on a cinematic universe and TV shows and timelines and how they're all connected and time traveling, whatever, then if you grew up with that and you grew into that and you grew to like that kind of thing, that's great. But as somebody who's nearly 44 years old, I didn't grow up with that. So now that doesn't mean there aren't people my age and older that don't adapt to it and love it. But I think you also have to be a superhero fan. Not that I'm not, but I'm not really into the superhero genre. Like I said, I've only seen like 4 Marvel movies. So it's just not my cup of tea. So when it comes to Star Wars, for me, movies are it. I can't get, like, I watched, The Mandalorian. I did watch all of Obi-Wan. I did. But there's just too many shows. Like, for me, there's just too many shows and all that kind of stuff. It's hard for me to keep up. So I can lose interest pretty quick. Like, you have to commit a lot of ass to couch time, as I like to say, to watch not just all the Star Wars shows, but all the other shows. All the other shows that are on, like, there's just a lot of watching. And I just, A, I don't have the time, and B, I just don't have the interest, So, if they're going to make a Star Wars movie, great. That I can go to the theater and I can make time for that. Right. But just all the other stuff is just hard for me to keep up and I lose interest. And so the new Star Wars projects, I am interested because they didn't announce 45 movies. They only announced 3. So that's easier for my brain to, keep track of. And I am a fan of Daisy Ridley as Rey. So I'm very curious. I don't know how that's going to go, but I'm curious to see what they do with her character. And although I really don't care about going back in time, like Knights of the Old Republic, all that kind of stuff. I really don't care about that stuff. I will say that because you have James Mangold directing a movie about sort of the inception of the Force and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you guys can hear that. There's lawn care outside. Because it's James Mangold, okay, I'm giving him and the story and the movie and Lucasfilm the benefit of the doubt here. That's kind of interesting, even though we don't need to know who the first Jedi was, although that is kind of cool. We certainly don't need to know. We don't need to demystify the Force, right? So we're going back and we're going to discover all this. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to tread lightly. We got to be careful. That's how I feel about it anyway. That's how I feel about it. All right. Let's check the final results of our poll here. And the final results for the poll today, 193 of you had voted. The question was, do you want there to be a Scream 7? 75% of you said yes. 24% of you said no. It should be 75-25, but obviously there's probably point stuff that's not being factored and not showing up here. So, out of 193 of you, the overwhelming majority of you want there to be a Scream 7. Want there to be a Scream 7. Folks, that is going to do it for this episode of McRae Live. Thank you to my great moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, Cody Snyder, and Andrew Stevens, for doing what you guys do. I really do appreciate it. And thank you, of course, to all the Super Chat questions that came in today and those non-Super Chat questions as well. Don't forget, this Monday, May the 1st, the Indiegogo campaign for It's Me Billy Chapter 2 is dropping this Monday. We're going to need all the help we can get, folks. We really want to show you how it ends. If you're not following me on social media, you need to be following me on social media, especially between now and Monday. You're going to want to be following me on social media for that. If you want to follow me on social media, all my links are in the description. My Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are there. Please follow me and check out those links until your heart's content. And when your heart is content, check them out again. I got it back to front today. But anyway, hey, it's been a long show. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I will probably be back at some point between now and next Monday as well. So, folks, have a great rest of your day, and yeah, in the meantime, in between time, I will talk to you soon. Alrighty. Cheers.